Imagine this, you're sitting in a cafe, sipping an espresso, maybe in New York, maybe in Paris, it doesn't matter where. Your phone in your hand. You're typing notes for an article that could ruffle feathers. The government wouldn't like this story, but you've always believed the truth must be told. Suddenly, your phone buzzes. It's a WhatsApp call from an unknown number. You don't pick it up. The call ends in seconds. You shrug, take a sip of your coffee, and keep typing. What you don't know is that the real crime has just begun. Your microphone is listening, your camera is watching, and your private life, every message, every call, every movement, is now an open book to someone somewhere. That chilling scenario isn't from a spy novel. It's real. It's what the world came to know as Pegasus, a spyware so advanced that it blurred the line between security and oppression, safety and betrayal. For decades, people joked about our phones listening to us. Pegasus wasn't a joke. It was the nightmare hiding in plain sight, the digital parasite that could turn the one device you trusted the most into a spy against you. But to understand the horror, you have to know where it all started. Who built Pegasus? Why was it created? And how did it escape into the hands of those who would weaponize it against ordinary people? The story begins in Israel, a country with a booming cybersecurity industry. It was 2010 and three men, Shalev Julio, Omri Lavi, and Niv Karmi, co-founded a small firm called NSO Group. They pitched themselves as pioneers in cyber intelligence. Their dream? To create a tool so powerful that governments could use it to catch criminals, terrorists, and cartels before they struck. Israel, constantly under the shadow of terrorism, seemed like the perfect place for such an invention to take shape. From the start, NSO Group was shrouded in secrecy. The NSO itself came from the initials of the founders' names. On paper, they were simply building lawful interception tools for governments. In reality, they were crafting Pegasus, a weapon unlike anything the digital world had seen before. Imagine a world where police could track kidnappers instantly, where intelligence agencies could listen to terrorists planning their next attack. Pegasus was marketed as that miracle solution, the digital scalpel that could slice through encryption and secrecy. Governments lined up to buy it. Mexico, India, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, they all signed deals worth millions. NSO promised these nations a digital sword to fight crime, but a sword cuts both ways, and once Pegasus was unleashed, it didn't stay confined to its supposed legitimate use. The truth about Pegasus might have stayed hidden forever if not for one of the largest collaborations in investigative journalism. In 2021, a coalition of 17 media organizations, including The Guardian, Le Monde, The Washington Post, and Amnesty International Security Lab, launched what became known as the Pegasus Project. They had obtained a leaked list of 50,000 phone numbers linked to potential Pegasus targets. Among them were journalists, activists, business executives, and heads of state. Some were confirmed victims, their phones found riddled with traces of the spyware. The findings were explosive. Suddenly, Pegasus was no longer a whisper in cybersecurity circles. It was a global scandal. Governments scrambled to issue denials. Some insisted the software had only been used within the law. NSO Group defended itself, claiming they only sold Pegasus to responsible governments with the approval of Israel's Ministry of Defense. But the evidence was damning. The spyware had left fingerprints everywhere. On the phones of reporters in Mexico, dissidents in the Gulf, lawyers in Europe, and politicians in Africa. Pegasus had become the digital ghost story of the 21st century, a reminder that the device in your pocket could be your greatest enemy. And this was just the beginning. When the Pegasus Project went public in July 2021, the world reacted like a city waking up to find out every bedroom window had been left wide open. Newsrooms scrambled. Journalists everywhere began asking, "Am I on the list? Was I being watched all along?" Politicians checked their phones, some quietly replacing devices overnight. Intelligence agencies across Europe, Africa, Asia, everyone was on high alert. The shockwaves were immediate. In France, President Emmanuel Macron held an emergency security meeting. His number had been found among the potential Pegasus targets. The idea that the French head of state could be under surveillance by a foreign power using a private company's spyware was more than embarrassing. It was a national security nightmare. In Morocco, the government was accused of using Pegasus to spy on journalists and activists. They denied it, of course, but lawsuits began flying across European courts. In India, opposition leaders accused the ruling government of using Pegasus to target critics and journalists. Heated debates broke out in parliament, and suddenly Pegasus wasn't just about surveillance. It had become a political weapon, sparking protests in the streets. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens, lawyers, teachers, activists realized their privacy was gone. Imagine fighting for human rights in a dictatorship, thinking your secret conversations with colleagues were safe, only to find that every word had been captured by an invisible eye. The fallout wasn't just political, it was personal. Trust in governments, in technology, in the very idea of privacy collapsed overnight. Pegasus wasn't just a spyware scandal. It was a reminder that in the 21st century, our own devices could be turned against us. When the scandal erupted, NSO Group went into damage control. Publicly, they insisted Pegasus was sold only to responsible governments with the aim of fighting crime and terrorism. They painted themselves as misunderstood innovators, tech pioneers unfairly demonized by the media. But behind the scenes, the walls were closing in. In November 2021, the United States government blacklisted NSO Group, placing them on the entity list, normally reserved for arms dealers and hostile actors. This meant American companies were banned from supplying technology to NSO. Overnight, the company went from a darling of the cyberintelligence world to an international pariah. Apple also struck back. They filed a lawsuit against NSO, accusing the company of targeting Apple users worldwide. They weren't just suing for damages. They were seeking to permanently ban NSO from using Apple products and services. For a spyware company, being cut off from Apple's ecosystem was like having the oxygen supply cut off. Courtrooms became battlegrounds. Activists and journalists from Mexico, India, and France dragged cases before judges, demanding accountability. Governments implicated in the scandal denied everything. Morocco sued Amnesty International and a French newspaper for defamation. India's government stalled, refusing to confirm or deny its use of Pegasus. Saudi Arabia, silent. But NSO wasn't finished. They argued Pegasus was essential. "We save lives," they said. "Without Pegasus, terrorists will win." And in truth, the spyware had been used to catch criminals in some cases. But the question remained, was saving a few lives worth destroying the privacy of millions? As the court battles dragged on, one thing became clear. Pegasus was too dangerous to be treated as ordinary software. It was a weapon, And like nuclear weapons, it raised an impossible question. Once you create something so powerful, can you ever truly control it? By 2022, the scandal had slowed in the media, but Pegasus had not disappeared. In fact, reports showed it was still being used, sometimes under new names, sometimes through backdoor deals, sometimes by governments nobody expected. Researchers at Citizen Lab and Amnesty International continued uncovering fresh infections in places like Poland, Spain, and even Uganda. In Poland, Pegasus was allegedly used to monitor opposition politicians before a crucial election. In Spain, Catalan independence leaders discovered they had been targeted. In Uganda, diplomats were compromised, at a time when the country was playing a delicate role in international affairs. Every time the world thought Pegasus was under control, it reappeared. Like a virus mutating, it refused to die. And here's the most chilling part. Pegasus is just one spyware tool. If NSO Group could build it, what about other companies? What about secret labs inside governments? How many digital weapons are already out there, invisible, watching, waiting? As of today, NSO faces mounting debts, lawsuits, and restrictions. But the idea behind Pegasus, the ability to infiltrate any device, anywhere, without a trace, is alive, and governments still want it. But the battle is far from over. The question isn't whether Pegasus is gone. It's whether the next generation of spyware is already in your pocket, hidden, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. The Pegasus scandal might feel like the end of a dark story, but it's really just the beginning. Because here's the truth. Pegasus wasn't the only spy in your pocket. It was just the most notorious. Think about it. Every day we willingly hand over our data. Social media platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and X track what we like, who we follow, and even how long we pause on a video. Google Maps knows where you sleep, where you work, where you shop, even your favorite restaurant or pizza spots. Your phone's accelerometer quietly logs when you're walking, when you're running, even when you're lying in bed at night. Although these aren't exactly spyware, but they are still as intrusive. It has become big business. It's called surveillance capitalism, wherein companies profit from knowing everything about you. The difference here is that while these other apps request your permission to access your information, Pegasus doesn't ask permission. It doesn't need you to click accept all cookies. It doesn't lure you with free apps or funny filters. It simply breaks in silently and takes what it wants. But when you step back, the result feels disturbingly similar. Whether it's governments spying on dissidents with Pegasus or corporations selling your data to advertisers, one question remains: who really owns your privacy? Let's go back to the Pegasus Project revelations. Journalists discovered world leaders like Macron of France, Ramaphosa of South Africa, and dozens more were on target lists. If presidents can't protect their phones, what chance does the ordinary citizen in Michigan, London, or Paris have? The scary part is this: Pegasus might be exposed, but the technology didn't vanish. It evolved. New spyware tools are emerging from private companies in America, Russia, Europe, Asia, even Africa. Governments still want them. Authoritarian regimes crave them. And cyber mercenaries are more than willing to supply them. And here's the kicker: you wouldn't even know if you've been hacked. The perfect spyware doesn't show itself. No lag, no battery drain, no suspicious pop-ups, just silence. The silence of a thief in the night. So the real crime Pegasus exposed isn't just that governments spied on their own citizens. It's that the world's most personal device, Our mobile phones has become the most dangerous weapon against us. Perhaps you're watching this video on the very device I've been talking about. Maybe it's listening right now. Maybe the idea of privacy as we once knew it is gone forever. Pegasus was just one ghost in the machine. The question isn't whether you're being watched. The question is, by who?